Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of In The Pocket. It's a slightly different episode today because of timings and whatever else inconveniences. But pretty much I'll be talking and then Chris might have something to upload. So let's get to it. We start off with Bellator 183 when Benson Henderson was beaten by Patricky Pitbull. I didn't really see much of this. I've seen pretty much the highlights because, as I said last week, I don't really watch Bellator, as I got corrected off by someone last week. But I've seen the highlights like on Instagram, and he looked like he took a lot of hits by Pitbull, like big hits. I didn't see much of him, and I just pretty much know that match ended on decision. And the Benson Henderson is not very happy with it, and he says he just needs to stop leaving fights too close and that he should finish them. But obviously you can make that excuse all you want. In my opinion, if you could really finish somebody, you would be doing it. It wouldn't be getting to the last round. Like if you had the ability to do it, which I believe that's pretty much what he said, that he needs to not leave things as tight as he is, and he can do better. But that's not like a good enough reason for me, because if you were in that situation and you're fighting for money and you're a professional fighter, you don't leave things. So if you can finish someone in the first round, you will finish someone in the first round. There's no toying or fucking around with them. That's what you do. So I've got no kind of, I think he's just being a bullshitter there. Fair enough, he looked like a bit of a good athlete in the probably 1 minute of highlights I've seen, but he did look like he was taking big blows to the face, and I think I've seen a good knee in there. And I think I might have seen a Superman punch, I'm not sure. I also know Roy Nelson won his Bellator debut against Ayala. I know that was a split decision, but I just don't know. As much as they're getting bigger stars into Bellator and whatever else, and they are getting bigger as UFC is getting smaller, you'd think. Not like gate sales and that, but just by unhappiness of athletes and athletes leaving. I'd say Bellator was in the more of a rising stock than the UFC. But they haven't got the exciting athletes or the athletes that I want to watch. Like Roy Nelson doesn't really do it for me. I mean, he looks pretty cool and everything, and it's just the fight style of him and the ones I have seen, it's too slow and morbid for us. Fair enough, obviously, a guy of his caliber, it's more about hitting with power than speed and whatever else. But it just doesn't seem to attract us that much. It doesn't. Fair enough, he has been in the UFC and he's made a name for himself there, but he's just kind of a big fish in a small pond in the way he's a main event for Bellator. Like Roy Nelson, how many main events or core main events is he going to be in the UFC? Not many, depending on the card. And he'll probably be in some if the card was a pretty shitty card. But it doesn't really give us the interest to watch it. I don't know much about the Ayala guy, but I mean, it just says something about it. I haven't heard it's been a mint fight and the world's been set alight by it. But I mean, if he was that caliber of an athlete that gets you excited and people like shit, Roy Nelson's fighting kind of thing, there would have been a knockout last night. Whether he got knocked out or he knocked somebody else out, you'd have thought there'd be more risk or a bigger chance of the size that he's fighting at of a knockout happening. So I don't know. Yet again, didn't really interest us. Haven't really watched it. One I did watch was Paul Daly and Lorenz Larkin. The Lorenz Larkin, I've got to say, impressed us a bit, especially when he dodged the spinning backhand, which I mean didn't really do anything, seeing as he got knocked out about 3 seconds after that, probably less than that, with a big left hand from Paul Daly. But I mean, what a knockout! I mean, Chris told me about it before, but I'd already seen it. And Chris described it in a nice way of saying that he thought he'd knocked the soul out of his body, because when you watch it, he's just kind of stood there and he's not going down, but he just looks like a dead man, just pushed up on a broomstick or some shit like that. He's just literally stood there, and you just know he's fucked. And you look at his eyes roll back, and the same way he was definitely done for. It's just a weird way. Obviously you don't see much people basically get knocked out but still be alive on the feet. So, well, he wasn't really alive. He was just merely existence. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got out of that fight. And I've seen, obviously, not much other than that. That's literally all the ones I've seen, just because I don't really give a shit about it, as I've said. But I did watch the UFC, well, some of it, because, I mean, obviously it wasn't really much of a killer card, but I still had to do the review today. But as I kind of previously said, well, in my first little prediction of it, I kind of changed my mind, just because I thought Claudia Gadelha, I haven't really seen her fight, she looks like a bit of a beast. But Jessica Andrade, she would prove the point of what I said in the statistical analysis before, of where I said she had more like significant strikes than Gadelha, like in previous matches, and she absolutely landed them. Good fight, I've got to say, but Andrade absolutely made a meal of it, and it was a good win. Like, it was a good, strong split decision, I think. And what the body slams I seen, and the little bit of a ground and pound she finished on at the end, I think it wasn't obviously going to knock her out, I don't think, but what a transition to make from slamming like a person your same weight over your head with that much kind of velocity and power, and then to get her into the ground and pound position straight from that. It was, I thought, as much as I can say, it was probably a beautiful transition. Looked like a good fight, a pure slugging match, bloodfest. It was pretty much entertaining. It's where Andrade goes next. She probably won't go for another title shot unless Rose Namajunas, which me and Chris didn't cover about, because we were more. I think he's probably the same as me on this, which is not very often the same, but we're probably confident that Joanna's going to win, and by ease, because when you look at her in this kind of strawweight division, she's got a very long reach, and she's a very, very technical fighter, but she's got the aggression as well. Like, there's not many athletes where they've got a good combination of all three of them, and she has the perfect balance. She's aggressive. She knows how to be the queen of kind of and keep the belt and dominate the division, but she's got the reach. She uses it very well, and she's a very technical fighter, especially like when I seen her fight Carolina. She used the leg kicks very well. She used the distance to slip in and out. Carolina, as much as I kind of wanted the underdog to win that night, even though I'm a very big Joanna fan, she got decimated. She had nothing in there. So yeah, so unless Rose wins Joanna, which no one's really kind of counting on, but everyone has a puncher's chance, and she's obviously up there for a reason, so she could really pull it off. Then I think Andrade is the next to get a title shot without a doubt, but it kind of does cast some shadow over, because obviously it's going to be another one with Joanna, which is quite a recent kind of fight that just happened, so maybe they might give it a bit more time, let her fight a few more people, or they might just throw her straight in, because Joanna has to have someone to fight in maybe coming months, maybe 4 months or something for next year, so they can make a good card out of it. But I don't know whether it'll be Andrade next or somebody else, but they can't really have it as someone else. It's very limited options, because that was kind of like a interim kind of thing. If Joanna wasn't there, like they would be the next two contenders of how high they are. So probably will be, but we'll have to just wait and see, I think. Obviously, OSP won like we predicted, because obviously Chris has made out the point that Akami was just pretty much getting off the couch to come into this fight. But it was a good chokeout, signature chokeout. I think it happened in the first round. I can't remember. It's been a couple of days now, but it was a pretty good performance by him. But it's not really like much of a comparison when you like look at who he was fighting. I don't know. I think congratulations to him. It was a good fight, but it was a good fight for him technically. But what I did say, I think Okami did land some big bang. Well, one or two, I think. But I don't know. There's not really much like where to go, because obviously you can't really talk about much about the Japanese card, because at the end of the day, where's OSP going to go from here? Like, not like, fair enough, he's a good fighter and everything else, and he's got mine and probably Chris's respect, but it's not somebody I really look forward to seeing. As much as he's got the power in that, like, I just don't really care where he goes next. It's not going to be for a title or whatever else, or even a contention for it. So we just have to see. But that's the bad thing about this Japanese card. Like, it's got athletes with no kind of care for where they go or route to talk about. because obviously wasn't a big card, so it's just a weird one. I'm going to guess, hopefully, because what people want to see was obviously the Shogun Rua fight, but hopefully that'll be his next kind of go-to from here. And then maybe if he wins that one, or by a convincingly distance, and then fights maybe he needs to fight a few more people, then we can actually talk about him being like in a title contention or whatever else. But we can't right now, unfortunately, because this Japanese card was absolutely AIDS. So on to the next one, the next bit of news. Anyways, I'll go back to this UFC, but something that just came out today and I want to kind of cover, because I think it'll be a big news for it is big news, but it'll kind of get a lot of attraction from kind of the part-time fans. Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz have apparently agreed to the trilogy fight. This will be at 155, and I think it was December 30th, and it's for the title. So this is what I said last episode, and I'd love for this to happen, and I'd like to know other people's views on this, because I know Chris's is a bit different to mine, but I think when me and Chris kind of we did it on Facebook today, I tagged him in it, and he said something like he wasn't really like attracted to this fight like he normally does, but he said, why am I excited about it, pretty much, because he said it makes no sense, and I said, because basically obviously everyone wants to see the decider. As much as Chris hates to admit it, Conor won the second one, and I think it was 3-2. Conor. Everyone might disagree. I say it could be a draw, but I definitely am for Conor at 3-2. So as much as Chris hates it, Conor came back technically and a lot, and did a better performance, and he won. And that's the difference between a champion in my books, like when you look at Rousey, who kind of bitched off when her fall from grace happened. But obviously, this Chris Maines says this makes no sense, and he's pretty much said how. And I said, but obviously, it's a title fight, so it's different. It's a different fight at a different weight, right? Conor McGregor is obviously stronger in 155, or more comfortable, should I say, than 170, which obviously gassed out quicker than he probably normally would, and he's throwing more power punches, but at a slower pace. Obviously, Nate Diaz has fought at 170 more than Conor McGregor. Fair enough, they're both probably 155 fighters, but Nate Diaz ultimately is a bigger man, which Chris doesn't seem to kind of get sometimes. So yeah, it's going to be a completely different fight, being at different weights, especially one where Conor's more comfortable in and probably won't gas as fast. So obviously Nate's got to make a cut, because he's been out that long. He'll be at a bigger weight. Fair enough, he will be training, but he won't be training like as much as Conor has been. Like, obviously he's had the Mayweather fight in between then, and you think obviously Conor is a lot sharper of an athlete. Like, fair enough, Nate is, I've got so much respect for him. He's a brilliant athlete. Obviously his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is unbelievable, but I mean, he's not really an ideal athlete. The kind of smoking weed aspect of it, just calling for Conor all the time. But like, he should have took other fights in between them to keep himself sharp for when this does come. He might be comfortable thinking, nah, whenever it does, he will win or whatever. But I don't know. I think Conor's going to be sharper, hopefully, because I know who I want to win already. But yeah, another reason it's got to take place is obviously it's more at stake with the title. It's going to be more money, and that's all the UFC really give a shit about. So yeah, it's going to be more money, and it's going to be a bigger pay-per-view, because it's not only the Nate Diaz and the glorious Conor McGregor fighting, it is a title fight, and it's the trilogy fight, so it's basically whoever wins. So the stakes are bigger, and that's pretty much meaning the money's bigger, and it does attract me. It's a fight that's got to happen, and I want to happen. Like, the Khabib thing doesn't impress me. I think he's just a little bitch, in the sense where he's like calling for McGregor and saying he's got something that he deserves. Well, he obviously doesn't, because he can't fucking make weight, and he's still bitching on about getting the McGregor fight after he's not made weight. He's lost his kind of contention. He fights like maybe 1 time a year, 2 times a year, out injured all the time. I seen him against Michael Johnson, didn't impress us. Well, he dominated him, fair enough. He held him to the ground, but as I don't see him being able to stop Conor McGregor. As much as people hyped him and that, everyone hypes anyone McGregor faces. When you think, like, when he had Eddie Alvarez, everyone was like, oh, he's going to get absolutely taken down, which Eddie Alvarez should have utilised, which everyone's already pointed out, but didn't happen. Like, it didn't happen. everyone said that was going to be the one that took him out, but it didn't. So everyone's just like, they just want him to lose, and that's what it is. It's not like facts or anything. It's basically part-time people that just think Conor McGregor's a kind of Floyd Mayweather guy, flaunts his money, which he pretty much is, but they just want to see him lose. So yeah, that won't happen. The one that would interest me more, where I'd like to see after this, because I seen some guy today as well post, oh well, he's just title dodging again. And I'm thinking, you haven't fucking even read the article, have you? It's a 155. It is a title fight, but whatever. One that would interest us. I don't really like Kevin Lee that much, and I think Tony Ferguson will win. But I'd like to see Tony Ferguson and Conor McGregor fight, just because I think it'll be a better fight than Khabib, and Tony Ferguson, I believe, could actually cause the upset of beating Conor McGregor, because they both are going to be throwing slugs. It's basically what they do, just a slug fest. So that interests me straight away. And at the end of the day, I think it could be an upset. So that's what would interest me after the Nate Diaz trilogy fight, if it happens, and I hope it does happen, because I've got to say I have missed seeing at least one McGregor fight in the UFC this year. Boxing doesn't really do it for me, but I did like the boxing. I thought it was a quick change up, but if I could see McGregor fight anyone in the UFC, I would. But yeah, Chris then said that hey, what's the point of having an interim title fight, which is valid, but then in the same sense, you don't know the damage that Ferguson and Lee's going to face in like their fight next month. So then you're going to be like, kind of, do they want the chance then? Will they have recovered by then? Would they have had time to go into a different camp? You don't know if they're going to fucking do the leg in really bad, or there's going to have a big head injury where they need time off. So you can't really say that. As much as I'm sure Ferguson would be game for it, I think even him would probably, like, if he did sustain a lot of damage, would maybe want it a few months after, because you don't want to go into the biggest fight of your career, or one of them, where you've got the opportunity to have a title, to make something for yourself, to kill this god in the UFC, bring him down a step. But you'd want to be going into that in the best physical shape you possibly could, and that's why I pretty much think if I was in Ferguson or Lee's situation, whoever wins, I'd probably just want a few months, well, maybe a month to kind of heal. And then I'd have like a 2-month camp or something, just to get back in there, sharpness, do all the training and preparation I want for McGregor, and then we'd hit him. Because then the 2 months after that, you'd think you'd probably have 4 months in total, because obviously the McGregor and Diaz fight's rumored to be fighting a month after. So yeah, McGregor, if the same kind of like thing, then it kind of goes in fair. Everyone's like had the much preparation as they want. Going to be in the best physical shape, the better fight, a safer fight. So yeah, that's what I think. If I was in their situation, I'd want to go into it at the peak of my form, best fitness of my life, sharpness. I wouldn't want to go in like thinking, oh fucking hell, my legs hurting a bit because I've came back a bit too soon, is what I mean. So yeah, as much as Chris says, yeah, the interim title fight is a thing, but they might not want to fight straight off the belt. I think Tony Ferguson would, because I think he's a game person that would probably fight anyone on any given day. And Kevin Lee probably is. I just don't know much about the guy. I've seen him in the interviews with Tony Ferguson. I've seen his last fight. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think on that. What else? I've seen like bits of the Teruto Ishara fight. I've seen the first round, and I think obviously it was a clear win for him. Then he could have knocked him out, but I think Dai came back and recovered, which was a shame how he didn't get the knockout. But then I think when I seen bits of the third round, I think it was, and I think Ishara was trying a lot with the takedowns, but it wasn't really coming off for him. But then I seen Dai land a low elbow, and then I look at the scorecards and I think he's just kind of grazed it. Like, I don't know what the second round went like, so I can't really say it. I've heard people say that he won the second round, but I'm not sure. I think Ishara has probably been lucky, and I'm pretty sure he said that after the fight. But I do like watching him fight, so I hope I do see him sometime soon. I don't know who against, but I think a fight like that, what would interest me with Ishara maybe different weight categories or whatever. But I think it'd be weird seeing him fight like a kind of Sage Northcutt or Mickey Gall again. Like I want to see Mickey Gall fight, just because I don't know. I haven't seen much of him. I can't really compare the CM Punk one, because I mean I want to. I'd actually really like to see CM Punk fight again, because I like the kind of attitude the guy has, and I think he's had balls to go in and get shit before he even kind of started. I think he just kind of got nervous and just basically panicked, gave him his back, ran straight into the didn't dominate the middle of the octagon straight away. And Mickey Gall, better athlete obviously, punished him. But I'd like to see Mickey Gall fight somebody a bit different. I think the Sage Northcutt fight was a good fight, but I think Mickey Gall did absolutely dominate him. I don't really see the hype of Sage, to be fair. I think fair enough, he's a good kind of wrestler, but I can remember the first fight I seen him. I can't remember. I think was it the same card Misha Tate won the title on, Folly Home. It didn't look like his punches were very big. Like he was absolutely dominant with his takedowns and his wrestling, whatever else. But his punches looked feeble, to be fair. Sorry, I'm going a bit off track talking about Sage and that. So I'll just go on to the next fight. The only other fight I pretty much watched was the Gokhan Saki fight against Henrique de Silva. What I can say about that, I think I've seen the finish and it was a good finish, but it looked like kind of Silva just came kind of confident after like landing with some knees, and then he threw the high kick and he just got knocked the fuck out. But it would have been, if you were there, a very like entertaining way to end the fight. Obviously just finishing on a big bang with like 15 seconds or whatever, 17 seconds it was to go. I've seen highlights of Saki defending takedowns, but I heard that De Silva had to just stand and bang, and he wasn't really doing well. But then apparently he got a bit better when like I just said, like the knees came in and last kind of minute. But then that obviously lasted probably about 10 seconds before he just got the fucking left to the face. So yeah, I can't really say I've seen much. I look forward to the bigger cards like this month and next month, especially the November card. I can't wait for that. But in the same breath, I can't wait to see the Demetrius Johnson and Ray Borg fight, because I want to see Demetrius Johnson make history, because I absolutely love the guy. I think he's an amazing fighter. He has an unbelievable record, which really speaks for itself, and it's just a nice guy. He's just a down-to-earth guy. And yeah, he's probably like my favourite UFC fighter. And Chris has trained with him, which he might add in. Yeah, I also kind of seen, I think was the first round, I think Saki nearly knocked De Silva out then. I think everyone kind of expected him to win, but it looked like it turned out to be a pretty good fight. Haven't really got much to say for it now. I hope to see him fighting soon. Again, maybe like, obviously not a main event or a main kind of thing, but maybe like just after the prelims, that'd be a good kind of place to start him then, or maybe stick him in prelims if it's like a stacked card, like a super stacked card. But we will be entertained to watch again. I'm sorry this is a bit different today. It's just Chris kind of changed his mind, then I changed my mind. It's just been a bit hectic. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe, because I mean, I would get Chris to come and suffocate you with his tits, but I mean, I think he's trying to lose them, and he might get a bit sensitive about them. I'm joking. But yeah, thanks for watching or kind of listening. I'm not going to have the images from the highlights. But yeah, have a good weekend, a good week, and please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.